Remember the Saints Row series? When all they were nothing but GTA clones about a gang called the Third Street Saints, getting back the streets of Stillwater from multiple gangs with dark, serious, and edgy moments? I do. So, how exactly has the series changed, you may ask? Well...
I don't want to marry the president.
You will marry that saint, and I won't hear another word!
Okay, let me get one thing straight. I love the Saints Row games. I really do. I played the first game all the way to the last one, Saints Row 4, and I loved all of them. My favorite being Saints Row 2, of course. Now, the recent installment of the Saints Row series, Gat Out of Hell, just recently came out for current and next-gen consoles, as an expansion pack for Saints Row 4. How well did this ever top off? Well, I'm sorry to say this, but Gat Out of Hell did not impress me at all. I mean, I had some things I liked, and some things I disliked about the game. But first, before we cover that, let's talk about the story. Just like Saints Row 4, Gat Out of Hell has a ridiculous story plot where the president, aka your custom character, gets kidnapped by Satan and is sent to hell to marry Jezebel, Satan's daughter. Now it's up to Johnny Gat and for some reason Kenzie to go rescue him. As we enter hell, we meet Dane Vogel from Saints Row 2, who is actually helping us this time around to save the president. We also meet people like Blackbeard, William Shakespeare, who for some strange reason is a DJ, Vlad the Impaler, and the DeWinter sisters from Saints Row III. As we recruit them, we get and I'm not lying here, a 5-minute musical number from Satan, Jezebel, Johnny, and Kenzie. Old school Saints Row fans are disappointed, Volition. After the 5-minute musical number, Jezebel later joins Johnny Gat to save the president. Satan later proclaims that Johnny is the right pick to actually marry Jezebel instead of the president, and sets up the wedding for them instead. Johnny Gat, being the badass he is, decides to shoot the devil in the face, but didn't go so well and Satan instead attempts to kill Johnny. However, Johnny, with some help from Kenzie, was able to defeat Satan, and he releases all of them, including the president. All of them get back on the spaceship, except for Johnny, who gets interrupted by God himself, and actually give him 5 different endings to the game. Oh, and spoilers, by the way, for people who didn't play it yet. These include the Saints finding a new planet to conquer, God answering all of Johnny's questions about the universe, God restoring peace and humanity back to Earth, but also retconning the Saints Row series in general, Johnny being the new king of hell, or Johnny going back to heaven to see Aisha one more time. At the end of the day, you'll just pick the humanity ending, since all the other endings, minus the Aisha ending, isn't really that memorable. But then overall, the story isn't memorable as well. In fact, it's actually kind of lackluster and disappointing, to say the least. I mean, yeah, I know it's Saints Row, but I would have really quite expected more from a $20 expansion pack. For the first time ever, you get to play as both Gat or Kenzie in the open world environment of Hell, or as the game refers to it as New Hades. Superpowers are back from Saints Row 4, only except this time around the more Hell-based theme. You got the superpowers like the Stomp, the Blast, the Buff, and a new power called Summon. There were also new elements, and you can get more elements by completing altars by, what else? Defeating enemies. We also get new weapons, which are actually nice additions to the game, including the 7 deadly weapons, with my favorite being the Diamond Sting and the Armchair Geddon. You also get a grenade launcher that shoots out exploding frogs. Don't look at me, it's Saints Row, what do you expect? You also get the ability to fly and run at super speed. I'm not going to lie when I say this, I don't like the flying mechanics in this game. Unlike in Saints Row 4 where flying, or gliding most likely, it felt comfortable and easy to control. Here, flying feels a little bit stiff and clunky. Upgrades are back with clusters to upgrade your power, speed, and flying, but like I mentioned, flying is difficult to control, even if you upgrade it. But if you want, you can also drive around in cars, which again works the same way in Saints Row 3 and Saints Row 4. Activities are back, but they're the same as before. Insurance fraud, which is where you go around pretending you got hit by cars and earn money. Mayhem, which is used just causing mayhem and destruction. And trailblazing, oh wait, I mean hellblazing, get it? Where you fly through rings and you see if you could beat the activity in the fastest time. But we get a new activity named Salvation, which is saving dying souls before they crash and possibly die into hell. This is my least favorite activity out of them all because, as I previously mentioned, the flying controls. You also earn medals whenever you complete an activity. The higher the points, the higher your medal rank is. We also have diversions like survival, extraction facilities, and even a revenge diversion where we kill Dex multiple amount of times. I like this diversion a lot, because I get to kill that bastard Dex a lot. Yeah, take that, you punk. For the most part, they're enjoyable. It's fun to kill Dex a couple amount of times, but it gets boring later on though. Besides that, there's nothing else that needs to be said about the gameplay. It's identical to Saints Row 4, only except we're reskinned in a different setting and a new playable character. And I know it's an expansion pack, but it feels like there should have been more into the gameplay aspect of the game. The voice acting for the game is great as always. Daniel Dai Kim, the voice actor for Johnny Gad, does a good job as portraying him, and Travis Willingham, yes, Knuckles from Sonic Boom, does a good job with Satan. Jezebel is also enjoyable to listen to, and I will admit, despite of how corny the 5-minute musical number is, she is a good singer. There are no radio stations in GAD NFL, but it's not a total loss, since it does make sense not to include them. Although I would have preferred a metal radio station in the game since there was one in Saints Row 4. But that doesn't mean that the game's original score isn't terrible. Its hellish theme definitely fits the game perfectly. Now you figured since this is the first Saints Row game to be released on next-gen consoles, you figured that the graphics to be slightly improved, right? Wrong. This game looks the same as the 360 PS3 counterparts. The only thing that's different is darker lighting this time around. The game looks alright though on the PS3 360, but for next gen, it's barely improved. Still better than Watch Dogs though. Overall, GAD NFL is a mixed bag for me. Even for a $20 expansion pack, it seems too mushy to buy, especially since it will take you a few hours to beat. I say wait till the price drops to pick this one up. However, if you're an old school fan of Saints Row, then of course you're going to get away with this title. As I mentioned before, I like the new Saints Row games, but in my opinion, GAD NFL just seemed to jump the shark a little bit farther with this one than Saints Row 4 did. Will we see a new Saints Row game where we go back to its original roots? Who knows? GAD NFL gets a 6 out of 10.